Welcome to RCTV. We're here with Jason Bahnsen, President of Tempus Resources. Thanks for joining us. It's been a while, but finally, welcome back to an all-in-person PDAC this year in Toronto. For those new to this story, Tempus is an exploration and development company focused on gold and copper projects in British Columbia as well as Ecuador. The company is now focusing on its flagship gold properties in British Columbia, Canada, and doing exploration as well on its gold and copper exploration stage projects in Ecuador. Jason, I have a few questions here to ask you. First, what are you most excited to see or do at PDAC this year?
Well, I guess as you mentioned, Tim, it's been a couple of years since we've had a live PDAC. So, I think one of the best things about it is everybody's in one place at the same time. So you can connect with a lot of people that, you don't normally connect with. And, this generates ideas and deals. And so it's good to see everyone back.
Great. And for those who don't know about you or about the Tempus story, what would you want new investors to know right away?
Well, Tempus is a growth story, and as you mentioned, our flagship is the Elizabeth Black Dome project here in southern British Columbia. And so we are drilling up to put out a resource. It's got some interesting aspects with near-term production with existing infrastructure, given a mill at Black Dome and tailings facility. So it's a fast-moving story, I guess, is the key thing. And, we got good growth, and we're getting great drill results.
Great. And what about you and your background? How did you get started in the industry?
I'm a Queen's mining engineer initially, graduated in the 80s, worked underground in contracting for some time in northern Canada, and then lived 20 years offshore in Australia. Worked for Rio Tinto and then stepped into investment banking. Spent about 15 years in investment banking, all to do with resources. So, I guess I've in my career I've always had a resources hat on, but I held a number of different roles from the drill face to the boardroom, I guess you could say.
How would you describe the industry today as opposed to when you first got started?
Well, I got started in the mid-1980s, and I guess, one thing that I see different now, it's probably more international. There's more opportunities internationally. I've lived through a few cycles, I guess. It's can be challenging times depending on sort of timing. I think we're on the cusp of sort of fundamentals shining through in the industry and starting to drive demand, and we'll see that sort of float down to the equity stories and the explorers, I hope.
Great. Now, focusing a bit on Tempus, you recently announced that you'd started a 2022 drill program at Elizabeth. What are the priority targets for this year?
Well, this year, last year we focused a lot on the southwest vein and I drilled about 30 holes. This year we're focusing on southwest vein as well as the blue vein that we discovered last year with hole number 12, which was high grade, 33 grams per ton. So the current drilling is going to be on the blue vein, the southwest vein, and then we have the main vein and west vein, which were our targets that haven't been drilled yet, that had some historically very high trenching numbers, 50 grams over 20 meters, and so we're going to look at the extensions of those veins. So what we're really seeing is these parallel veins, 150, 200 meters apart, and so we're just continuing the sort of exploration of those veins with the aim of adding ounces.
Great. And then when would you expect that to lead to an updated resource?
We're planning to put an updated resource out after this year's drill campaign. So likely that'll be December, January, in around that time. Yes.
Great. Now, Black Dome also had a past producing mine and has a residual resource, I think, there. is there any exploration potential still on that property? Do you have any plans there?
Yeah, so Black Dome, we are doing some more study work at Black Dome to understand where we are in the epithermal system in relation to the sort of boiling point. So last year we had Jeffrey Henenquest, quite a well-known epithermal geologist, come out and spend some time at site. This year we're going to do more work. We're going to do some detailed work looking at fluid inclusion and really trying to isolate where that bonanza zone is at Black Dome. There was very little mined, at Black Dome over a 5-year period, about 330,000 tons, and so it's an only mine to about 100 meters of depth. So we believe, based on what we've seen with quartz textures, that we're still high in the system, and there should be quite a bit of upside. So we want to do some study work, and then we'll be able to really target a couple drill holes to hit the bonanza zone at Black Dome.
Great. And obviously the mill and mill buildings are still standing at Black Dome as well. What work would need to be done there to potentially reuse or revitalize that mill?
Yeah, the mill is a great piece of infrastructure. It's all weather, concrete foundations, steel buildings, and it's in pretty good shape. It was closed down 1991, and it, like I mentioned, it only run through 330,000 tons. So there's not that much wear on it. And we're currently working with JDS, and we're coming out with a study on the mill, the cost of refurbishing that and possibly expanding it and looking at the optimum sort of mill circuit. So we should have that out in the next couple of weeks for investors. So I mean that is a key piece of infrastructure for the project. And while we focus on the resource, as we've just been discussing, we are ticking the sort of boxes, I guess, in terms of the PFS type work that we would need to do prior to bringing it online. So once we have the resource online, it is a really near-term production story, near-term cash flow story.
You recently announced some geochemical and surface sampling results from Valle del Tigre in Ecuador. What do those results tell you, and what are plans there going forward?
Sure. What the work we've done at Valle del Tigre, we've done magnetics and radiometrics, and where we saw some very strong magnetic anomalies there in the previous work that are east-west in orientation, which is very similar to what we're seeing at other large projects in the region. And so now we've gone back and done a detailed mobile metal ion sampling. There's about 600 samples in total. And what we're seeing from those results, evidence of both copper mineralization and gold, and they're coinciding very well with the geophysical anomaly structures. So the next steps on that, there's 2 key anomaly areas that we identified in this work. We would do some follow-up sampling, mapping. There may be some need for some more fine-tuning, more geophysics, and all with the plan of identifying drill targets, priority drill targets. So that project certainly a gold presence, but it's in a major sort of copper porphyry belt. We have St. Barbara to the south, Mirador to the north. There's Warencia. It's in a key sort of porphyry copper and gold belt, and of course very close to Fruta del Norte as well with Lundin. So it's a great neighborhood. We're seeing encouraging results, early stage projects, but we think it has some real potential for scale from what we're seeing.
And how is the drilling at Elizabeth going?
Well, Tim, we started drilling a little bit earlier this year than last year, I think on the 30th of May. We now have three holes drilled. These are on the blue vein, looking at down dip sort of extensions of that blue vein. And just this afternoon, we put out a press release talking about we have 2 intersections of visible gold observed in the number 3 hole. One at 94 meters and one at 124 meters. So this gives us, further sort of information on the blue vein as well, and it may even be a series of several veins or stacked up. And so with more drilling, we have about 15 holes on the blue vein this season. So we're going to learn a lot more about it and add a lot more ounces.
And how are relations with the First Nations and other stakeholders in the community?
We work very closely with our First Nations partners. We have 2 exploration agreements in place at the moment, and working on a third. And for example, we have currently 12 people at Elizabeth mine site. Half of them are from the Hoisin community and Bridge River Band. So we utilize them for contracts when we can. So we're building a good relationship. We try to work in training programs, introduce them into our teams, particularly in areas of cultural monitoring, which is very, very important, and environmental monitoring. So we integrate the First Nations members into those teams, so they have direct, knowledge of what we're doing and observation. So it's working well. We're continuing to strengthen and build those relationships.
Well, thank you very much, Jason, for taking the time to chat with us today. And thank you, everyone out there, for your attention. And we hope you enjoy a great PDAC this year.
Been a pleasure. Thank you, Tim.